on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to talk to you about a movie called Dolls. This is available on Amazon Prime. It is directed by Stuart Gordon, who directed the movie Reanimator with Jeffrey Combs. That is probably what this director is most well known for. I hadn't heard of any of the other things that he had been involved with, but this movie, I was just going through Amazon Prime to see what was available, and I saw this, decided to give it a go, and it is basically what you would think that it is looking at the poster. You see that and you say, okay, Killer Dolls. And interestingly, this came out a year before Child's Play. Although I would say Child's Play probably kicked off the evil doll craze more than this one did. And I do think this movie does have one advantage over Child's Play. Child's Play, part of it is that it's part of a very large franchise, and so even people who have never seen those movies, they know that the doll is the bad guy. But even when you watch the first movie, if you have no knowledge of the franchise, you see, what's-his-face, the serial killer, Charles Foster Kane, he sends his soul into this toy doll. And then the movie is trying to convince you that this little kid who gets the doll is actually pushing people out windows, and he's secretly evil, and his mom doesn't believe him when he says that the doll is talking to him and stuff. And so she thinks, well, there's something wrong with my kid. The problem with that is we, the audience, already saw the serial killer put his soul in the doll. And if the movie wanted us to second guess whether the kid was evil or maybe the doll really is talking to him and saying these awful things, then they should not have shown that scene where Sheriff Brackett from Rob Zombie's Halloween is running from the police and he puts his soul in the doll. They kind of neuter their big twist right at the beginning of the movie. The advantage to watching Dolls is that you don't know what the twist is, because I had never heard of this movie before. And there really isn't much of a twist. Basically, there is this horrible family. It's a dad, his daughter, and his new wife, the daughter's stepmother. They are all just awful. The wife is just pure evil. The dad is not much better, and he actually kind of gets progressively more abusive throughout the movie. And then the daughter is supposed to be our good guy, and we're supposed to think, oh, she's adorable, she has a little teddy bear, isn't she sweet? She's mostly just annoying. And no offense meant here, but she kind of is giving me Mara Wilson vibes. I don't think that Mara Wilson was as annoying. Like when you watch Matilda, I'm not rooting against Matilda in that movie, but in this movie, I had no reason to be rooting for this little girl. She is constantly whining about how there are elves and fairy people and ghosts and goblins and stuff like that, and I don't care. I don't think that's enough to make me care about this character, but they are driving out in the middle of nowhere, and then they end up at this house because it is raining really hard, and there's this elderly couple that lives there, and they make dolls for a living. They hand make dolls, and so they say, sure, you guys can stay here for the night, the storm will probably let up in the morning. And then there are these two punk girls who the car almost ran over at the beginning of the movie. They are given a ride by this other guy, and then they make it to the house, and they're like, hey, can we stay here while the storm is going on? And then, spoilers, one by one, each character is getting picked off by the toys. The toys are alive, and the big twist at the end is that the elderly couple, they are aware that the dolls are doing this. And apparently every doll in the house was formerly a human being that for whatever reason got turned into a doll. So in this movie, the first victim is one of the punk girls, and she decides she's going to rob this elderly couple, and they won't know any better because it's such a big house. They won't notice that any of the antiques are gone. And then some of the dolls, they kill her, and eventually when we find her body, it's pretty gruesome. I was kind of surprised at how bloody this movie was willing to get, because up until that point, this movie wasn't really that scary. It kind of felt more like a family horror movie, at least at the beginning. It kind of stops being that towards the end when some of the kills start ramping up, but at least at the beginning, this did not feel like a rated R horror movie. But she's killed, and then there's a good little period where we've got some characters kind of investigating, because the little girl stumbles across this woman in the process of being killed. So then she goes and tells the guy who gave these two punk chicks a lift to the house, and then they're investigating. There's a good little stretch where not a whole lot happens, and then suddenly the movie ramps up and just starts killing almost everybody. And like I said, the big twist is that the elderly couple, they are aware of what's going on, and basically, if you are awful, if you have decided to leave your childhood behind, then you will get turned into a doll or something. It's a little vague on what the rules are, why the dolls decide to attack who they attack. There's the one woman who's trying to rob the elderly couple. She gets turned into a doll. Okay, because she's evil, and the dolls are taking justice on her. And then her friend, who didn't do anything, she said, no, let's not rob them. And then she's actually scared, and she's looking for her friend who is somewhere in the house. She gets killed by dolls for no reason at all. And then at one point, this guy who gave the two hitchhikers a ride, he is like terrified because they have found dead bodies, they found piles of blood, and he just wants to get out. And so he starts stomping on dolls, and then they attack him. And really, the worst thing he did is just be scared of them because he has no idea what's going on here, and he just wants to get out. Then the dolls attack the girl's stepmom, who is awful. She is like emotionally and even sometimes almost physically abusive to the little girl, but the dolls don't know that. For some reason, the dolls just show up and start stabbing her, and I don't know why. I don't know if the elderly couple commanded the dolls to do that, or do the dolls have agency of their own? Because as we find out at the end, everybody who is in this house, except for the elderly couple, the guy who gave the two women a ride, and the little girl, they all get turned into dolls at the end. And then the elderly couple, so the guy who gave the two women a ride and the girl, they both get knocked unconscious, and then they wake up, and the old man is like, oh, you two have been unconscious for hours, and somehow they don't remember any of this horrible stuff that happened overnight. And then he says, little girl, your dad left a note saying, I decided to leave you here, and sir, it's your responsibility to take her to her mom up in Boston. And then they're both like, oh, okay. And then they leave, and then as they're leaving, we see another car come in, and they get stuck right next to the house. So it's like, oh, the whole thing is going to happen again. Okay. And I have to say, it's not a great movie. I know I was kind of bagging on Child's Play a little bit earlier, but I think Child's Play is much more memorable than this, at least scarier than this anyway. I didn't find most of this to be scary. In fact, I was kind of amused by it. I will say, when we see the dolls moving around, they're using stop motion, and it looks pretty good. I was expecting a 1980s version of CGI, and they didn't do that. And it probably wouldn't have looked as good if they had, but they're using stop motion here, and I think it looks pretty good here. Yeah, I don't think that it's a great movie. It's fine. If you are looking for an hour and a half to kill, this would be something that you could watch, and it's not going to be awful. You're not going to hate it, but it's also not going to top anyone's top 5 horror list or anything like that. I thought it was just okay. I wish that the characters were a little bit more fleshed out. Everyone here is a cartoon character. The elderly couple, they are cartoonishly sadistic, like, ooh, we have more dolls added to our collection, and the two punk girls, they are cartoonishly like, yeah, we hate the elderly, yeah, we're wearing makeup, and we've got our hair spiked up, yeah, and then like the husband and the stepmom, they're cartoonishly abusive. Yeah, okay, I get it. I wish we had characters who felt a little more real here. I wish we had a little bit more of an understanding for the motivation behind the dolls, because at the end of the movie, when we find out that these 4 have been turned into dolls, are they now under the control of the elderly people? And, you know, are they going to try and gain their freedom? Because even with this guy being turned into a doll and being as awful as he is, you kind of feel bad for the little girl whenever she's told that her dad abandoned her, and then the old man has the doll right there that the dad turned into, and he's probably hearing this whole conversation, and he's not able to do or say anything, and you kind of feel bad for him too, even though he's awful throughout the entire movie. So it's okay. I've heard people say that I was reading into this a little bit, and I've heard people say it was a little lackluster compared to Reanimator. I've never seen Reanimator. I don't know. But I feel like this could have been tightened up just a little bit. I think it could have been made just a little better. But it's not a bad movie. So that is all that I have to say about Dolls. I hope that you guys liked this review, and I will see you guys later with another video. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you later.